Hi everybody. While I'm getting over my sick spell, almost there, about 95%, been catching up on people's videos. I've been here in this room working, trying to get my lights set back up from where I moved everything around to put up the Christmas tree. That's been fun. While I was doing that the other day, I had YouTube going on the TV over here, just playing whatever was coming up next. And a video comes on, and the man is talking about the history of the outhouse, of all things. So naturally, I had stopped what I was doing and watched this. He was actually talking about the history of how the crescent moon shape came to be that's carved in the door of outhouses. Anytime you see a picture of an outhouse or an actual outhouse, there's that moon shape there. And he was trying to figure out, is it to let light in? Is it a ventilation thing? Is it just to mark that it's an outhouse? And I don't want to give too much away because it's a really good video and you should go watch it. I'll put the link down in the description. But that video got me thinking about how many people out there have never actually used an outhouse. And I'd say there's quite a few who've never used them or even laid eyes on one. Growing up, I knew a couple or three people who had outhouses at their houses. But most of the outhouses that I knew growing up, and even the ones I know of today, are either at churches out in the country somewhere or cemeteries, things like that. You usually find an outhouse. And after thinking about that, how many people, have never really had that experience of having to go sit in an outhouse to take care of things, and even like other things, people who don't live in the country that they don't experience. You get asked things sometimes. I've noticed in people's live chats, people ask things about what lives in the woods and different stuff like that. So what I decided to do is create a tag called Country Living Tag, and it's going to deal with some of these things that you're very familiar with when you live in the country, and it could be different between countries. I don't know if that's the right word. Where I live at in the country in eastern Kentucky is very different than what it would be like to live in the country in western Kentucky or in Georgia or anything like that. So I thought it'd be fun to make some questions that would compare and contrast what all the country people's lives are like. Have you ever been bitten by a snake? I'm very, very fortunate and very, very happy to say I have never been bitten by a snake. There have been a couple times when I've messed with a snake with a stick when I should have just left it alone and probably should have been bitten, but somehow I've made it this far in life. I've never been bitten by a snake, not even a non-poisonous one. Have you ever been sprayed by a skunk? Again, I'm extremely thankful and feel a little closer to God because I have never been sprayed by a skunk. That's one thing I really don't ever want to experience. I've had friends and people before who their dogs that stay outside have been sprayed by skunks, and man, it does not go away. I mean, there's remedies and things for it that help dull it down, but it's gonna be with you for a little bit. And that's just, oh my God, and if you've never actually smelled a skunk spray, like something's been sprayed up close, it burns when you smell it almost. It's so strong. Hey! Now there was one time I probably should have been sprayed and sprayed good and just didn't, thank God. It was at my mom's house, and I always fed the cats in the carport, and raccoons had been going in the carport and eating the cat food, and I was determined to catch them if we were going to battle if I ever caught one down there. So one evening I was pulling into Mom's, and I think I see a raccoon in the carport as I'm coming up the driveway. And I park the car and I get out and I walk down there, ready to just raise hell up out of the ground by the and it was a skunk. It raised up and looked at me like, what do you think you're doing? And then it turned around and I thought, here it comes, and it just walked off. So I got really, really lucky. Have you ever seen a porcupine in the wild? This is one that fascinates me, and it has for a long time, because according to many, many, many sources, including Kentucky Department of Wildlife, we don't have porcupines here. With that said, I know people who have dogs who have gotten into it with porcupines and had to go to the vet and have the quills pulled out. They got stuck in them. You tell me. Now, as for me, I've never seen one in the wild. If I have, I didn't know what I was looking at, or I don't know. And it's always been strange. You don't see them, you don't hear people talk about them. Every now and then somebody's dog gets attacked by one, but apparently they don't live here. I've never understood it. What is the strangest critter to ever get inside your house? When you live in the country, and sometimes when you live in town, it doesn't matter. You're going to get a critter in the house every now and then. Now, the weirdest one that's ever gotten in my house, I live right smack in town, 2 blocks from Chestnut Street, and there was a possum in my kitchen one morning. I woke up to get ready for work, and I heard some awful noise going on. Thought it was the cats fighting or something. Walked in the kitchen, and there's possum. It wasn't huge, it's big enough to have to deal with, at 6:30 in the morning. I wasn't happy. The cats weren't happy. They had it cornered. And the possum was really not happy. So I tried to get a broom, run it out the back door. Had no idea how it got in. To this day, I don't know. Couldn't get it to run that way. Finally, I just got mad because I realized it had bit one of my cats on the ear. A piece of her ear was gone. And I grabbed that possum by the tail and I flung him up against the wall and knocked his brains out. And I guess it stunned him or something. And I just kind of pushed him out the door with the broom. He was gone when I come home for lunch. What is your policy on wearing shoes in the house? Now, when I was growing up, we did not wear shoes in the house, really for any reason. Like me, Mom, none of us. When you came in the house, you took your shoes off. And 9 times out of 10, if company came over, they took their shoes off when they came in the front door too. That was just what you did. And I didn't know until I was grown. I had some friends in town when I was working at the newspaper who were not bougie, because they were nice as they could be. They were a little more highfalutin than the way I was raised. And I remember the first time I went to one of them's house. I won't name names. I know somebody that watched this will know exactly who I'm talking about. Remember me talking about this before. When I walked in their house, I took my shoes off as soon as I came in the door. Especially when I noticed that this living room had white plush carpet. There was no way on earth I was going to be wearing shoes on white carpet like that. And they laughed at me for taking my shoes off. They thought it was the funniest thing ever was. And I'm sure it was a poor hillbilly child, But they thought it was really weird that I would take my shoes off in the house. And I thought it was weird that they would wear their shoes in the house. So, tomato, tomato. But at my house, take shoes off when you come in. Have you ever heard a noise in the woods that you could not explain away? I can sit here and tell several stories about things I've heard in the woods that I couldn't explain. Now, I'm not one of these people that if you're in the woods and you hear something, you immediately freak. There are things in the woods. There's squirrels, there's deer. And if you're out walking in the woods, you'll hear things, and most of the time it's an animal. And most of the time it don't care enough about you to bother you. It's going to go on about its business. Sometimes you do hear things that you wonder, like, okay, that wasn't right. And I remember one time, me and some friends had gone up to our farm to watch a meteor shower. And we parked at the barn and walked down to the lower field. It's really dark up there at night, so it's the perfect place for this kind of thing. We hadn't been there terribly long, and the field we were in drops off into a holler. Something down in that holler screamed, and it sounded just like a woman that was getting absolutely axe murdered or something. It was the most blood-curdling horror movie scream I've ever heard. And we all just kind of looked at each other. Did you hear that? And that kind of thing, because it was weird. It was weird. And then it started screaming again. And at that point we were like, all right, we need to go, because whatever it is, I don't want to be around for it. That ain't right. So we start back toward the truck, and we're having to walk all the way up this hill to the barn. And then it started screaming, but it sounded like there was lots of them. And they were all like screaming together. That's when we took off running. It was like the more we ran, the farther away the truck got. I'll never forget that, just running. And you can still hear it screaming back behind us, whatever it was. To this day, I have no idea what that was. Never heard it again. What do you call the holiday that falls on the last Monday in May? Now, to most of y'all out there, you know this day as Memorial Day. People in the country, even if they call it Memorial Day, still know it as Decoration Day. And in a lot of rural areas, they still call it Decoration Day because that was kind of what Memorial Day was called to start off with. But around here, what you do on Memorial Day is you go to the cemetery and you decorate the graves. In country cemeteries, you have to mow yourself and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like a groundskeeping day, and you decorate. And used to, when I was little, everybody had picnics at the cemetery, Memorial Weekend and stuff. You go out to the cemetery, it'd be full of people eating Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yeah, but I still hear it called Decoration Day quite a bit. Have you ever drank from a well, cistern, or spring? I don't know that I have drunk water out of a well. It's a very good possibility. I just don't, it's not registering. A cistern, absolutely. The old house up at our farm, you've seen that in a couple of our videos, had a cistern on the back porch. And after my dad's generation and Mamaw and Papaw had moved out of there, my aunt and husband, her kids, all lived there. And I would go up there and stay with them a lot. And we pulled water right up out of the cistern with a bucket. I remember doing it clear as day. There's also a couple of springs up on our farm that I've drank water from. And spring water is kind of a big deal where I live because we have a spring called Climax up on the mountain, and you can buy Climax bottled water in the stores here. It's a big thing. Or you can actually go up there and fill up your own jugs and stuff for free. It runs all the time. Would you rather shuck corn, break beans, or peel taters? First and foremost, I hate peeling taters. I hate it. If you're eating something that I made that's got a tater in it, skin and all was used. You can bet money on it. I ain't peeling no tater. Shucking corn, I don't mind that as bad as peeling taters, but it is a fight because you're going to hear a lot of people say this, you can't get them things clean. It's awful. I can break beans all day long. I like to break beans. I don't know why. I don't even eat green beans. I think green beans are disgusting, but I can sit and break beans just for hours and hours on end for some reason. I've always been like that, and I have no idea why. But yeah, I will break some beans. Now, if there's anybody out there who does not know what that means to break beans, tell me in the comments. I'll explain it, or I'm sure somebody will explain it in a future video because I'm really curious to see how far these tag questions go. And finally, have you ever used an outhouse? That question is kind of what started all this, and I've kind of already told, yeah. I've used outhouses plenty of my life, not just porta potties, absolute wood, moving in the door, hole to squat down on, outhouses. It's been a long time since I've used an outhouse, but in all honesty, I could get up right now and get in the car and go take you to an outhouse and be there, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They're still around. With that said, it's time to do the tagging. I was only going to tag one channel on doing this, but I think I'm going to tag two. The more I've thought about this, this could be fun. So, the first channel I'm going to tag, Big Joe and Meleah's World, of course. And the reason I couldn't get to this without tagging them is because sometimes when me and Meleah talk on the phone, we talk about this kind of stuff and country words that we use that people don't use around, Kearney, stuff like that. So absolutely, I want to hear their answers. And the next one, I am going to tag Midlife Mamaw. I'm really excited to see what she comes up with this one. And if you all need me to email you these questions, let me know and I can do that. And for everybody else, the links to their channels, you know where they're going to be, and please go check them out so you can see their answers. I'm really excited to see people in this tag. This is going to be a good one. So with that said, I'm going to go for now, but I really hope everybody out there is doing great and you're warm and you're healthy and spring is coming. It's gonna be here before we know it, and I know I can't wait. Can't wait. Everybody take care. Talk to you later.